I never thought opening a hotel in a quiet mountain town would be a mistake. But now, guests keep vanishing. No checkout, no trace. And I think the hotel wants it that way. If you're hearing this, maybe it's already too late for me. Before we get into this chilling tale, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, especially if you love true horror, creepy mysteries, and stories that keep you up at night. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. I opened the hotel because I needed a fresh start. Life in the city had worn me down. Too loud, too fast, too full of faces that looked right through me. I was tired of chasing something I couldn't name. So, when I stumbled on this little mountain town, it felt like a breath I hadn't taken in years. Quiet, still, surrounded by trees that whispered with the wind and skies that actually had stars. It was the kind of place that made you feel like you could breathe again. The hotel itself was old, more than 100 years easy, but it had charm. The bones were solid, the wooden beams were carved with little patterns, and every room had a view that looked like a painting. I fell in love with it right away, the way it creaked when you walked, the warmth in the walls. It felt alive, not in a spooky way, just full of stories, like it had seen things and kept them tucked away. When I told the locals I bought it, they gave me this look. Not pity, not fear, just something I couldn't quite name. A few smiled politely and said, "Be careful with that place." One old man muttered, "It's got a past," but wouldn't say more. I thought maybe it was just superstition. You know, every old building has its ghosts. And honestly, I didn't care. I wasn't afraid of a little mystery. I just wanted peace. Somewhere I could start over, build something of my own. Looking back now, I wonder if that building chose me, if it waited patiently for someone like me to walk in, hopeful, naive, ready to make it come alive again. I thought I was saving the hotel, but maybe it was the other way around. The first time someone vanished, I didn't even realize it at first. It was late October, just starting to get cold at night. A single guest had checked in. Middle-aged guy, business type, said he just needed a place to crash for the night. Quiet, polite, nothing strange about him at all. He took room 3. I remember that because it was one of my favorites. Cozy, warm lighting. You could hear the rain tapping the windows like fingers on a drum. That night, the storm came in hard. Heavy wind, sheets of rain. I barely slept. Power flickered around midnight. I figured everyone would sleep in, maybe come down late for coffee. But the next morning, room 3 was silent. I knocked, politely. No answer. I knocked again, a little harder. Still nothing. The door wasn't locked, so I pushed it open, half expecting to find him passed out, or maybe in the shower. But the room was empty. Not in a messy checkout sort of way. His suitcase was still there, untouched, clothes folded neatly inside, wallet on the desk, jacket hanging by the door, but no sign of him. His car was still parked outside, too. Same spot he'd left it in. At first, I told myself he'd gone for a walk, maybe left early. But that didn't make sense. Who leaves without their wallet? In the middle of a storm? I checked everywhere. Around the building. Down the road. Nothing. I even called his emergency contact from the form he'd filled out. His sister. She said she hadn't heard from him. Said he was supposed to be on a work trip. I didn't tell her he was missing. Not yet. A part of me still thought there was a rational explanation. But deep down, I already knew something was wrong. I wish I could say that first disappearance was a one-time thing, some strange fluke, a weird coincidence I could brush off and move on from. But it wasn't. A few weeks passed, And then it happened again. A woman this time, early 30s, traveling solo, said she was on a break from work and wanted peace and quiet. I gave her room 6. At the time, I thought it was one of the nicer ones. Bright during the day, view of the trees, newly renovated bathroom. I even left a little chocolate on the pillow. I remember that. Same story. Storm rolled in that night. Thunder shaking the windows, rain pounding the roof. I heard footsteps above me around 2 a.m., but figured she was just pacing or restless. Next morning, nothing. Room 6 was empty, untouched. Her backpack still on the bed, phone charging, shoes by the door, but no sign of her, no note, no goodbye. She was just gone. After the third guest disappeared, I stopped sleeping. I started tracking everything: dates, weather, which rooms people stayed in. The pattern was too clear. It always happened on stormy nights. And every single time, the guest had been in room 6. I checked the cameras. That's when things got worse. The footage glitched, only during the critical hours. Static, jumps, like someone was editing the feed in real time. But sometimes, just before the footage cuts, I'd catch them standing in front of the mirror, staring, not moving. Sometimes for hours. One guy stood there so long, I thought the video had frozen, but the clock kept ticking. They didn't scream, they didn't run, they just disappeared. And whatever happened in that room, it never left a trace. Room 6 changed after that. Or maybe I just started seeing it for what it really was. I'd avoided going in myself, like maybe if I left it alone, it would leave me alone. But after the 4th disappearance, I had to know. I unlocked the door one afternoon, sun high in the sky, trying to convince myself that nothing bad could happen in daylight. But the second I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. The air was heavy, like the room was holding its breath. It smelled like wet wood and something else, like old water that had been sitting too long, trapped in the walls. I thought maybe there was a leak, but I never found one. The temperature was always colder in there. Not cool, cold. No matter how high I turned the thermostat, it never warmed up. The bulbs flickered, even new ones. And the mirror. That's what really got to me. It was just a normal wall mirror above the dresser, square, simple, but something about it felt off. The reflection didn't feel right. I can't explain it, only that it looked like me, but delayed, like it reacted a split second too slow. I'd move, and my reflection would hesitate, just enough for my stomach to drop. Once, I swear I turned my head, but in the mirror, I didn't. I started hearing things too. Low whispers, like someone speaking just behind me. But when I turned, nothing. Always nothing. I'd hear soft footsteps when I was alone. A knock inside the closet. Breathing that wasn't mine. I tried spending a night in that room once. Just once. I made it till 3:14 a.m. Then I left. I don't even remember getting up. I just woke up downstairs, the door to room 6 wide open behind me. I haven't gone back in since. I think the worst part was that I wasn't imagining any of it. I wasn't crazy, and I wasn't alone. The town knew. They always knew. It wasn't until after the 5th disappearance that someone finally broke the silence. A woman named Elsie ran the flower shop by the old church. She came by one evening, brought tea, and sat down like she'd been meaning to talk to me for a long time. No small talk, just quiet, tired eyes. She said, "You need to understand what that place is built on." I didn't interrupt. I just listened. She told me that before the hotel, before the town even had a name, there was a gathering place there. Not a church, not a home, just a clearing in the trees where people came at night. Not locals, not anymore. Something older than the town itself. She said they weren't worshipping anything. They were feeding something. A doorway, she called it. Not a literal one, not with hinges or wood, but a thin place where whatever's on the other side presses through. And they believed if they fed it, if they gave it souls, it would never fully open. It would stay just hungry enough to keep sleeping. They built your hotel right on top of it, she whispered. Probably thought they could bury it. But you can't bury something that isn't dead. Every few years, it wakes up. Quietly. It starts small. Just one person, then another. No pattern anyone could trace. Unless you lived there long enough. Unless you watch people disappear and learn not to ask questions. I asked her why no one told me sooner. She just looked at me with a sadness I'll never forget and said, "You wouldn't have believed us." And maybe she was right. I did what anyone would do. I tried to stop it. First thing I did was shut room 6 down completely, took it off the booking system, locked the door, nailed plywood over it for good measure. I even had it blessed by a priest from 3 towns over. He didn't ask many questions, but the second he stepped inside, he went pale and wouldn't finish the blessing, just walked out without a word and drove away. I started warning people too, quietly. I couldn't exactly tell them the truth. No one would stay if I did. But I stopped booking guests on stormy nights. I kept them in the rooms closest to the lobby. I even installed new locks, better cameras, more lights. It made me feel like I had some kind of control again. But the hotel didn't like that. It started small. Lights flickering, doors creaking open, even when I'd triple locked them. Whispers in empty halls. You know the sound of your own building. What's normal and what isn't. And these weren't pipes or drafts. These were voices. Low, layered, like more than one, speaking at once. Always behind me. Always just out of reach. Things moved. Items I hadn't touched in weeks would be in different places. I'd find keys in the freezer, my phone in the laundry room. I tried to blame stress, but that only worked until the night I woke up standing in front of room 6. I don't remember getting out of bed, don't remember unlocking the hall door. But I was there, barefoot, hand on the doorknob, like I'd been about to go in. The plywood was cracked down the middle, splintered like something inside had been pushing. That's when I knew. It wasn't just taking guests anymore. It was coming for me. I should have closed the place down. I told myself I was going to. Every day I said, just one more night, and then I'd lock the doors for good. But the bookings kept trickling in. People kept arriving, smiling, asking about the view and the breakfast. They didn't know, and I didn't know how to warn them without sounding insane. Then came the family. Mom, Dad, 2 kids, maybe 7 and 9. They were road tripping across the country. Just needed a place to stay the night. I didn't want to take them in. Every part of me screamed, don't let them stay. But it was late. Raining. They looked exhausted. And I couldn't bring myself to turn them away. I put them in room 1, the closest room to mine. I moved a cot into the hallway. Sat up all night like some kind of twisted night watchman. No way anything was going to happen to those kids. Not while I was awake. Around 2:40 a.m., I heard it. A scream. Sharp, high, and cut off mid-breath. I ran. My heart was hammering before I even hit the door. Their room was empty. Not just the people. Everything. The bedsheets were smooth. No bags, no clothes, no toothbrushes. It looked like no one had ever stayed there at all. Like I'd imagined them. But I hadn't. Because the cameras saw them check in. I watched the footage 100 times, and that's how I saw the impossible. At exactly 2:41 a.m., the feed glitched. Then the family just stood up, together, and walked straight into the wall, not through a door, just right into the wall where the hallway meets room 6. And then they were gone, like the hotel had finally stopped pretending. I stopped pretending after that night. There was no more rationalizing, no more waiting for proof, no more hope that I could fix this. The hotel wasn't just haunted, it wasn't cursed, it was alive. And not in a poetic old building has character kind of way. I mean aware, watching, choosing, feeding. That's what it does, feeds. Not just on people, but on fear, on confusion, on the silence that follows when no one wants to talk about what they've lost. And somehow, I've been helping it. Whether I meant to or not, I've cleaned the rooms after the vanished, washed their sheets, deleted their names from the system. I've lied to families. I've told myself it wasn't my fault, that I was just a witness. But the truth is, I've stayed. I've let it go on. So now I wonder, did I really find this place by chance? Or was I brought here? Because every time I think about leaving, something pulls me back. Something inside the walls, in the floorboards, in the reflection of that mirror in room 6. It knows me. It wants me here. And some nights, God help me, I want to stay. Because if I leave, who takes my place? What if I've become part of it? What if I always was? I'm still here. The hotel's quiet these days. I keep the bookings low, just enough to pay the bills. I give people the safest rooms. I watch the monitors. I leave the hallway lights on all night. I warn them in the only ways I can without sounding insane. Most smile politely. Some laugh. A few ask questions, but nobody ever really listens. They never think it'll be them. Room 6 is still boarded up. I haven't opened that door in months, but some nights, I swear I hear breathing behind it. Not loud, just steady, like someone asleep, dreaming, or worse, waiting. And the mirror? I covered it, taped thick black cloth over it, and nailed it to the wall. Doesn't matter. I still see it in my dreams. I still see myself looking back, just a second too slow. I thought about burning this place to the ground, ending it once and for all. But something tells me that wouldn't change a thing. The hotel wouldn't die. It would just move. Find someone else. Another quiet little town. Another tired soul looking for peace. So yeah, I'm still here. Watching. Waiting. Trying to outlast it. If you're ever driving through this part of the mountains and see a sign for a quiet little inn with a nice view and a vacancy, do yourself a favor. Keep driving. If you're still listening, don't ignore this. Share this story. Warn your friends. And never stay somewhere that feels off. The hotel might be watching. Subscribe for more real horror before it finds you next.